Okay, so this is our critical approaches to design assessment one, emergency response visual report on Barolola, and our team members are Aisha, Ying, and Samantha. And so why do we choose Barolola is because it takes about 7 hours drive southeast of Karen in the Northern Territory, and it has 755 population, and around 73.9% of the members are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, and it has a wet season, so it has a history of flooding. So now comes to secondary research. So we have three frameworks to introduce, which are National Disaster Risk Reduction Framework, Australian Disaster Preparedness Framework, and also Queensland Flood Risk Management Framework. So for the National Disaster Risk Reduction Framework, we have 7 principles to look at, which are shared and defined responsibilities, culture change, integrated action, inclusive engagement, continual improvement, data-driven decision-making, and also leadership. And next, Australian Disaster Preparedness Framework. It has 8 principles, which are all hazard, borderless, globally linked, and locally enabled, simple, agile, and scalable, adaptable, outcomes-based, and also timely. And Queensland Flood Risk Management Framework has 7 areas to consider, which are structural mitigation options, land use planning, resilience buildings, community awareness and resilience, disaster management, landscape management, and also current flood risk. So for the precedents addressing the emergency scenarios, so we have 6 examples, which are floating houses, Bandana Art Museum and Bridge, Rocky Creek Bridge, flood protection system in Vienna, prepare for flood poster, hazard near me app. So for the floating houses, it is constructed near shore and was designed to float above water, so it has local sewer system and power grid. So this prevents houses from being damaged during flooding and ensure a safe place for residents and for community members to stay before they can be rescued. And it also shows that electricity supply and an outlet for water secure resident safety. So for the Bandano Art Museum and Bridge, it is inspired by rural terrestrial flood bridges in Australia, and it is a great example which takes culture into account, and it not only reflects the geographical characteristics of the place, but also prevents the art and culture of this place from being damaged in flooding events. And the next, Rocky Creek Bridge. It is a long, high concrete bridge which rural community members can travel safely between 2 parts of the community. And this keeps the community functioning when flooding occurs. And for the flood protection system, it can be responded to severe floods, which effectively mitigating serious impact. And it shows the significant importance of having a water outlet to a place during severe floods. And next is a poster about prepare for flood. It provides information to individuals about how to prepare and get ready to respond to a flood. And it's also an example to show how visual elements like the use of colors can be used to increase people's awareness on flooding. And Hasa's Near Me app is an app which provides real-time information about various emergency scenarios like flooding and safety guidance to users. And it gives users the most updated information and also alert to tell them to prepare earlier for evacuation. And it's also an example to show how digital products can be used to notify people when there's events happening with the map. So now comes to the site analysis. For the climate conditions of Barolola, it has a mean maximum temperature of 33.8 degrees Celsius from 1961 to 1978, and also a mean minimum temperature of 19.1 Celsius. And it has a mean rainfall of 921.1 millimeters. And tropical cyclone is also common in the top end of the Northern Territory, especially from November to April every year. So with the two figures showing maximum temperature and minimum temperature, it shows that Barolola is hot throughout the year, which especially from October to April, which causes high mean rainfall in this site. And more recent data of Barilola's rainfall from 2013 to 2014, there is 857.2 millimeters of average rainfall. So it proves that the high rainfall climate of Barilola is still remains serious today, and the high temperature and high precipitation of Barilola make it easy for bacteria to spread, which affects inhabitants' health and increase the need for healthcare services. The flooding events will also affect residents' life and may result in loss of lives and property. So to enhance desired conditions, we can incorporate features like wind resistance features and also using waterproof materials. We can also consider about the height and giving clear instructions to the residents and also ensure it is affordable enough for them to access. And to protect from undesired conditions, intuitive designs can be considered and also can enable residents to send rescue signal offline. And also we can use buoyant attributes to design for the solution.
Moving on to topography of Borolula. The highest point is 17 meters above sea level, and the lowest point is 2 meters above sea level, which makes it prone to flooding. The settlement pattern is that it's located on the MacArthur River, so most of the settlements are close to the river, which makes them prone to flooding. Exposure. Bololura has exposure to sun for around 8 to 10 hours daily, except the wet season. And during cyclonic activity, the region faces high wind conditions. This is the mapping of the flood prone areas, the real life view of the geographic region, and the elevation map that shows us that the settlement and airport are built on flood prone areas, making it a hindrance for emergency respondents to reach the inhabitants. Risk identification. Low land level. The average low land level and settlement's proximity to the MacArthur River makes it prone to floods during the wet season. And exposure to wind. During cyclonic activity, the region faces high wind conditions, endangering the lives of its inhabitants. Design solutions. Elevation from ground. Settlements can be built on elevated areas of Bororola to minimize the risk of flooding during wet season. Natural drainage. Natural slopes can help disperse and drain the excess water, and we can avoid building on these areas to prevent water accumulation. Zoning. Zoning areas correctly to identify and minimize risks of bushfires by introducing fire breaks in such areas. Flora and fauna. Borolola is home to the savanna tropical vegetation. It has a lot of scattered woodlands, grasslands, and also a wide variety of fauna. Some of these species may cause a hindrance and inspire us in the design process or inspire us in the design process. These species are specified in the following slides. Vegetation. Borolola's tropical vegetation means it has tall grasses that grow fast during the wet season and pose a danger if a bushfire starts once they dry out. The spinifex termite are grass-eating feeding insects that build large homes using saliva, feces, and mud. This structure, made from clay like material, can be studied as it can stand harsh conditions such as wind, rains, flooding, and fire. Mosquitoes cause a lot of discomfort and diseases. Design solutions can be made to minimize mosquito population and spread of diseases. Crocodiles pose a danger during the wet season, and snakes also pose a danger due to the uh, large quantity of grasslands in the area. Design solutions. Settlements in Borolula get damaged due to natural disasters such as flooding and bushfires. So, homes inspired by termite cathedrals can also be introduced as they are able to withstand harsh weather conditions. Crocodiles may attack inhabitants during wet season or floods. So, crocodile awareness and signages within inhabitants can be introduced to ensure safety. Crocodile proof fencing and buffer zones can also be introduced. Threat identification. Due to its location in the Northern Territory, Borolula is prone to floods and cyclones, and this restricts access to remote areas via road or air as they get flooded for any emergency aids to reach the affected inhabitants. The vegetation makes Borolula prone to bushfires, especially after the wet season when the tall grass dry up. There are a lot of assaults, murders, and firearms that keep happening occasionally, and road accidents as well. Pandemics can easily impact remote communities, but one such example of during COVID-19 that posters were introduced with Ya- Yanyuwa language that was spread throughout the region prevented COVID from spreading to other remote regions. Threat to flora and fauna. During natural disasters such as bushfires, cyclones, or floods, the flora and fauna of the region are at risk. The government has come up with multiple solutions for such natural disasters. Various emergency frameworks have been introduced by the government. Different emergency services have been allocated, and there are a lot of rangers and volunteers that are being hired from the community itself so that they are provided with part-time or full-time jobs, as well as one of the core ideas is to empower the community members to be able to respond to an emergency. Cyclone shelters, fire safety kits, and signages can be put up throughout the site. Moving on to the inhabitant analysis.
Rolla as a small town is rich in Aboriginal heritage and home to people from several language groups. Indigenous language like Wa, Yanyuwa, and Gudanji are still spoken alongside English. According to 2021 census, 73.9% of Borola's population identify as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islanders. Next. With a large group of this strong indigenous present, it is not only demographic fact, it's defined the cultural, political, and social fabric of the region. It's also affected by the Aboriginal culture. Next. The traditional family structure is central. Everyone, young, old, has a place and a role in the community. The elders, in particular, carry great influence. The Yanua family elders are actively trying to preserve their language and pass down culture to the young generation. Next. In this case, traditional family structure are maintained and respected. Values like sharing, collective responsibility, and respect are deeply rooted. These aren't abstract ideals, they shape how people relate, care, and even how decisions are made. Next. On the other hand, contemporary expression, such as art, is also can be found in Borula. One example of cultural continuity is Warlunku Art, an Aboriginal-owned art center in Borula. This center showcased the talent of artists from the region four main language groups. Through their work, we can see the story of land, the community, histories, and even reflection on political and environmental concern. The Warlunka art is more than an art gallery, and it is a medium of storytelling and preservation. It also reminds us of any design work done here must respect the artistic voice of the community. Next. Based on this cultural value, when working with the indigenous community, we have to remember design isn't just about aesthetic or efficiency, it's also about respect and listening. Therefore, there are several design principles that can be guide us when designing a product. First, we have to respect the kinship structure, involve elder in co-design, and also prioritize family-based evacuation plan. We can also support multilingual needs in the remote area. For example, like signage and communication should appear in both English and indigenous languages. And for the cultural continuity, we can use local art and symbolism in the built environment, whether it is a signage, shelter, or public space. The next part, we will discuss the political environment in Barola. Based on the data, we notice there's three characteristics take part in the political structure, which are representation of indigenous community, the local authority, and how the community-led development work in the area. Next. With the representation of traditional owned show a strong community focus in the political structure, local organization and program are working to address the issue happen in Barola. Therefore, the political environment in Barola is community-led as indigenous presence is the key in the area. Next. The Barola local authority is made of elected members and the community representatives. They work close with the Roper Gulf Regional Council and plays a crucial role in the decision-making process, while all stakeholders are invited to join meeting and voice their concern. The community-led government should be central to any design or development proposal. Next. On the other hand, we also noticed that the current issue, like emergency response and housing issue due to the flooding, cause efficient housing condition given by the government, has been addressed by the resident and the community, which represent the concern of people and the focusing point for the future development of the design. Next. Therefore, based on this information, we can see that there are three principles that the design solution can be considered. First, the design needs to be co-developed with the community and the government when the remote area has a strong indigenous presence. And also the design solution can be focusing on mapping out emergency land use and disaster routes, enhancing locals' communication system by providing a government communication channel, and also ensuring that indigenous residents are central in planning and response. Next. Expect from general residents, there are also special need inhabitants that we need to be focused on when there is a natural disaster. When considering special needs inhabitants, we try to focus on three groups of people. First is the children and youth with special need, like students with intellectual disability. Second is the people with disability, like individual with physical disability. The last one is elderly, who may be living alone or without any support. Next. Emergency affect everyone, but not equally. Barola have some support, including speech therapy service, educational support, and government support for people. Next. And here are some examples that can be found in Barola that provide service support for the vulnerable groups. The first one is Student Wellbeing Hubs, which is a national educational organization that supports physical, mental, and emotional well-being in school. And one of their program, We All Right, provide a place for the indigenous student to understand their culture and history in a diverse educational environment, bring the awareness of the Aboriginal groups in the community. Next. And the second one is Speech and More. It provides a speech therapy for all people with speech disorder, and it is a private allied health practice. Next. For the government, there is a big step forward for Barola is the development of a multi-purpose health service center, especially to address chronic kidney disease. This development plan provides dialysis service by saving people from long and exhausting travel for life-saving treatment. It is a great example of community central health care. And the next part, we will discuss the potential danger and harm inhabitants in Barola. Despite the surface support, many potential danger will still appear during the disaster. And for this part, we try to highlight some of these issues when flooding is happening. The first one is people with hearing or intellectual disability may miss the key instruction. The communication gap will make to the missing point of this group of people. And the second is elder individual living alone may be also forgotten during the evacuation. Next. Remote area often lack of accessible transport. The lack of transport access may lead to because of the cutoff of essential service. And also the power outage can be deadly for a patient relying on medical device. And flooding also may cause emotional harm. During the flooding, it will bring emotional stress, which worsen anxiety and trauma. Next. As you can see, the risks aren't just physical and also emotional. Here are some design solutions that's based on the previous mentioned danger and harm. The first one is the community-led emergency support, which introduce a buddy system where people can register to support vulnerable neighbors, and this build trust and ensure no one is left behind. Thanks. And the second one is accessible flood shelter. While the emergency shelter may not be accessible or cultural appropriate, shelter can provide a sufficient facilities such as wheelchair access, family spaces, and reflect cultural sensitivity. This should be feel safe and not just a functional shelter. Next. The last one is visual community map. During the flood, technology or the internet often fails. A printed flood risk map with danger markers and safe routes offer a reliable low-tech alternative when there is any technical issues.
So for the chronic issues, most of them are found to have diabetes with 6.1% of Borrelia population, and others are chronic heart diseases, kidney issues, and asthma. Next. So it is believed that food access of remote communities affected under flooding. So the health condition might be intensified due to the lack of nutrients and energy intake, and also flooding increased the price of food and delivering difficulties to remote communities. Next. So to address this issue, design can incorporate first aid kit and medical items and also ready-to-eat emergency food so that they can have enough energy to have overcome the windy and cool weather under heavy rainstorm.
Moving on to the human rights emergencies, land rights violation, housing problems, limited access to health and education, and cultural disconnect are some of the human rights emergencies faced by inhabitants of Borolula. Culturally safe housing, housing that is sustainable and takes into account the inhabitants' cultural values and way of living can be introduced. Storytelling, visual design exhibitions can be curated to give voices to the Aboriginal community's leaders and members. Education design, education that takes in account of cultural practices, traditional materials, and regional languages can be introduced. Thank you.